Technical Leaflet T3 and what the ITTF test balls for. Hi, Technical Leaflet T3, which I'll simply refer to as T3 from now on to keep things simple, tells manufacturers how the ITTF expect a ball to perform and how they'll measure that performance. In particular, it shows how the ITTF check to make sure things like weight, roundness, colour, size and branding of these balls comply with a clearly defined set of standards so they play and look the way they should. So Technical Leaflet T3 is a crucial document in measuring and ensuring the quality of these table tennis balls. But before you think you've made a mistake choosing to watch a video about ITTF test documents, quality, packaging, appearance, a word of caution. Temporary amendments to T3. At the ITTF Board of Directors meeting held 2nd of May 2014 in Tokyo, a vote was taken and passed to amend various parts of Technical Leaflet T3, the ball. In recent years, changes to T3, well, they're nothing new. But these changes are particularly important because some of the specification amendments are temporary until January the 1st, 2016, when the original specifications will apply again, and only apply to non-celluloid balls. And a common question asked, why do we need these changes? Well, according to the ITTF, they've been brought in to ensure that the practical issue of availability is not held up by the small but time-consuming last adaptations needed to meet both the original technical tolerances and the non-technical suggestions. So these changes affect this, the Joola Super 40P Plus plastic ball, but not this, the Joola 40 celluloid ball. Now the cynics amongst you might be saying that the whole point of having a deadline is that you meet your target dates. And having already missed the 2012 deadline, the ITTF couldn't now afford to miss the July 2014 one as well. And that's why you've got temporary specifications being brought in for this ball. Temporary specifications that will last until the 1st of January 2016. And let's face it, temporary specification amendments, that's really an admittance, a tacit one, that it's another failed deadline. And 2016, coincidentally, that's an Olympic year. Imagine how the IOC might feel about a sport with potentially no balls. But we're not interested in the politics of the decision to move to this plastic ball. That's been done with many times before. What we're interested in is how these temporary specifications are going to affect this ball and what those temporary specifications are going to mean for the future. In particular, will any ball approved under these temporary specifications cease to be approved come 1st of January 2016? As it happens, Dr. Torsten Kuhnert, the Equipment Committee member in charge of the approval of table tennis balls, recently provided the answer to our first question on the one-of-a-kind table tennis forum. They will not become illegal, so approval is not withdrawn simply because the dateline is crossed. Which is great news, because it means I haven't spent a fortune investing in a product with an effective expiry date. However, unfortunately, what it doesn't do is tell us which ball our national associations are going to choose to use from January the 1st, 2016. How do you know which specifications a ball has been tested under? Changes to the specifications in T3 were voted in by the ITTF's Board of Directors on the 2nd of May 2014. So any ball that's been approved before this date, well, that should have been tested against the original specifications. How to tell the date a branded ball was approved by the ITTF. And to find out when a particular branded ball was approved, you'll need its approval code, which can be found in the list of approved balls published by the ITTF and available on their website. These lists are updated regularly, so don't make the mistake of assuming that because it says valid until 31st of December 2014, that no more balls will be added to this list until after that date. They will. This Joola Super 40P Plus ball is number 36 on the list, and its ITTF approval code is ITTF-124-B-04/14. The first three digits, 124, tell you that it's the 124th ITTF approved ball. The 04/14 tells you this Joola Super P 40 Plus ball was approved in April 2014, before the Board of Directors vote to allow temporary amendments to T3. So I know the Joola Super 40P Plus branding and source ball were tested against the original specifications. A fact confirmed by Dr. Kuhnert when I contacted him with a concern about the weight of these plastic balls. So you think that this Joola Super 40p Plus plastic ball, well, you think it was tested against the original specifications and not the amended ones. Think again. Nothing's ever that simple. Dr. Kunert also went on to explain, after that, the specs were relaxed in order to facilitate mass production, and manufacturers were allowed to use this immediately. And although branded as Joola Super P40 Plus, this is not the same as the source ball. It's different from the source ball. How do I know? Partly because I've already completed our tests, so I know the results and how they compare against T3's original specifications. And partly because I know the date that this ball was manufactured, and that's after the 2nd of May 2014 when the temporary specifications were voted in. So because the ITTF is allowing manufacturers to make changes to these balls, changes which aren't going to need full approval, your best guide as to which specifications that your ball was being actually tested against is going to be the date of manufacture and not the date of approval. How to tell the date a ball was manufactured? Every box of table tennis balls should have the date of manufacture stamped on it, and that refers to the balls, not the box. On this box of Joola celluloid balls, you can see that the date stamp is here, and it says XEAC. And you can see on these plastic balls, well, there's a stamp here at the top. It's not very clear, but it says XFAD. I don't know if you can see that. But what does this code mean? You'd think it'd actually been easy to put in normal date codes, but hey ho. T3 tells us that the first two characters represent the month, the last two the year. The letters A to I represent the numbers 1 to 9, and X represents 0. So XE translates to 05 and AC to 13, which means May 2013. And I know that as I bought these in July 2014, these Joola Super 40 celluloid balls were actually 14 months old when I bought them as new. These plastic balls were made in XF, which is 06 or June, and the year is AD, which is 14 or 2014. So these balls were a month old when I bought them. Now of course, having a date code is great, except, well, I've yet to see a date code shown by suppliers online. So if I was to buy these, I wouldn't know until I got them home what the date was, and that could be too late. How do you know when a ball has been improved? But even if you have a date code on these boxes telling you when it was made, they're not going to tell you when and if these balls have changed since the temporary specifications were introduced. And that's strange. Let's face it, car manufacturers tweak existing models regularly, and when they do, they typically rebrand them in some way to differentiate them from the previous models and to show that they're better and improved, and they publicise it. And all that in turn encourages us to rush out and buy them. Surely you'd think the table tennis manufacturers or the companies that rebrand these balls as their own would want to do the same thing. Or at least the ITTF would want to test them again and make them go through the approval process to make sure that any changes actually mean that the ball stays within the specification and the amendments. You'd think so, but no. And Section D1 simply requires the ITTF Equipment Committee to be notified of any change to the ball quality. And that's a pity, because you'd have thought if the ITTF consider it important enough to be notified of these changes, well then, isn't that only fair that us, the paying customers, the ones that buy these balls, should also be told of any changes to the specifications? Let's face it, if you were given the choice of buying a ball which played okay, but not exactly the same as a celluloid ball, or you had the information to buy a later version which played exactly the same, wouldn't you want to know that information? I contacted Dr. Kunert again to express my concerns, and this is what he had to say. You will exceptionally have to be prepared that the ball you buy today may use the spec relaxation to the maximum extent and come back to the original continuously. ITTF has asked the professional players if this strategy is reasonable. They, the Athletes Commission, have confirmed yes, i.e. that the temporary changes are minor, so that the Equipment Committee had no reason to see any disadvantages in what you feel uncertainty. And Dr. Kunert went on to explain, the ITTF is not planning to do any reauthorisation. Getting back to the original specs will be tested by the random testing programme. Possible quality control issues. But if we can't identify when a ball changes, other than when it changes to such an extent that it fails the ITTF random sampling tests, testing which the ITTF ironically only started in September due to ball shortages. How do we know that the quality of these balls is and will remain good? Help is at hand. Dr. Kunert explains in his question and answer session that it's the brand owner. Now, I'd be surprised if the manufacturers don't do their own testing too, but for all intents and purposes, this here is a Joola branded ball, so it's Joola that are responsible for the testing. And this brings me on to something else, something on these boxes. Down here on the wording of this particular celluloid box, and it's the same on all of these three, are two very important words. Selected quality. And these, well, this is a Joola box for the plastic balls. Now, can you see anywhere on this box those two words? Selected quality? I can't. Two crucial words are missing. Selected quality. Now, why do you think that could be? And something else that's missing. Again, have a look at these particular box of Joola celluloid balls. And again, it's the same on these. If you look down here, you can see that it says JTTAA, Japanese Table Tennis Association approved, which is a respected mark of quality. Joola's plastic ball packaging doesn't have that. Even though these are ITTF approved balls, and you can see that here, could there be a question mark hanging over the quality of them? Until Joola put the wording selected quality back onto the packaging for these plastic balls, should we avoid buying them? Only Joola know the answer to that. Care to share, Joola? Where are these ITTF approved plastic balls made? Now, of course, if we don't like the quality of these balls, well, we can always go and buy a brand that we trust. And looking at this list of approved balls, it appears like we all have lots of choice. But do we really? This is where it can get even more confusing. On the side of the box that the Joola celluloid ball comes in is Joola's address, Germany. Which is fine, because T3 Part C3 packaging says that the packaging may include the name of the country where the company headquarters are registered. The stamp on Joola celluloid ball also includes the text Germany. No surprise there, but have a look at the box that the Joola plastic ball comes in. Not only does it have Joola's address on, but it also has the words Made in China. Yet the stamp on Joola's plastic ball says Germany. No mention of China at all. So are these Joola balls in breach of the ITT specifications? To find out, I contacted the ever-patient Dr. Kunert, who confirmed that they're not in breach of T3, and that we can all expect to see balls stamped with a country of manufacturer sometime in the future. We just don't know exactly when. So for now at least, unless you see the words made in, either on the box, the ball or wherever, you're not going to know for sure where the ball was actually made. But who makes these ITTF approved plastic balls? The obvious answer? Well, it'd be Joola. But no, that's too simple. When this approved ball list was published, there were 25 approved plastic balls, 17 with seam and 8 without, and 46 celluloid balls. 25 seems like a lot of choice, and more are appearing on a regular basis. Unlike the celluloid ones, which have declined from 59 in 2012 to 46 in 2014, just like the ITTF predicted they would. But don't make the mistake of thinking that because there are 25 approved balls, there are 25 manufacturers, or even 25 different balls. In Dr. Torsten Kunert's Plastic Balls question and answer session, published July 2014, Dr. Kunert explains there are actually 5 manufacturers, and of those, one was awaiting final approval. And he goes on to explain, plastic balls of different brand can have the same manufacturer, they are just branded differently. So this ITTF approved ball list doesn't tell us there are 25 plastic balls all manufactured by different companies. It tells us there are 4 or 5 manufacturers who've decided to sell these balls as their own, or they've sold them on to other companies who then rebranded the same ball and sold them on as their own. So how are you and I supposed to know which manufacturer made which ball? To find this out, I contacted Dr. Kunert again, and I asked him if the ITTF kept a list of which balls were made by which manufacturer, and also which manufacturer made this Joola plastic ball. This was his reply. We do not publish such information because we have to respect the possibility that they regard this as their business secret. For the equipment committee, I do not see an illusion of choice because there is competition between the suppliers. So apart from different distribution channels and customer service styles, ultimately it is reasonable to assume that they have different ideas of how to pick a ball selection from the stock the manufacturer will offer. Remember those two words, approved quality, that were missing from this Joola plastic balls box? How to identify an ITTF approved plastic ball. As these balls are manufactured differently, the ITTF insists that the trademark or brand name, which is included in the stamp, must be unique and not used for another type of ball, and the minimum difference accepted is the inclusion of the term 40 plus to indicate that the ball is a non-celluloid ball. Looking at this Joola celluloid ball, you can see the Joola brand name is in blue with lines above and below. On the plastic one, it's a greyish black with no lines, and it's branded as Super-P in red text, and 40 plus as opposed to simply Super 40. So if you don't see 40 plus on the ball, it's not plastic. Another difference is the stamp size. The plastic ball stamp is smaller, which gives the impression that the plastic ball is bigger. Something we'll demonstrate as a fact in our video Size and Roundness. And lastly, have a look at the stamp on these two balls. This one is a new ball. This one is one that was used in our match testing video that you can see later. Notice how this one has gone a little bit faded and it's more smudged. This is much clearer. Now compare that with the celluloid ball. Again, here they are. This one is a new one. This one is the match ball. You can see this one's got marks on, but when you actually look at the actual printing, it's kept its colour, its shape, there's not the same smearing. And this makes me wonder if the print ink or paint used is different, or if the texture of the plastic ball is different, or if the regular aging of the plastic ball is faster than the celluloid one. And it goes back again to quality control and the ITTF's stated aim of having balls which have stable properties. In short, that shouldn't have smeared. That's much better. Packaging. Joola's plastic ball comes in a box which is predominantly black and red, with what appears to be white and silver coloured text. The box also holds 6 balls, all loose inside. Joola's celluloid box is predominantly blue and white and holds 3 balls which come in a plastic sleeve. You also open the boxes differently to get to the balls. The celluloid box opens nice and easy at the top, making it easy to get the balls out. The plastic one has a perforated hole in the front that you push through and then pull back to give you access to the balls. Well, that's the theory at least. I gave up trying to get the balls out this way and just ripped open the top. It meant the balls were loose, but that was still preferable to fighting to get them out. Now I'm not sure why Joola's plastic balls come in boxes of 6 as opposed to 3 for the celluloid ball. Maybe they don't expect them to last as long, so we need to buy more. Maybe it's eco-friendly packaging. Maybe they're trying to save us on postage costs. I don't know. Care to share, Joola? Our conclusions. There is no doubting that the ITTF have failed to deliver what they said they would by July 2014. If they had delivered it, well then we won't be needing temporary specifications that are going to last until January 2016. And there's still uncertainty around the quality of these balls, who makes them, when changes have been made to them, and the nightmare scenario in January 2016, and in fact possibly even prior to that, when we're going to have celluloid balls, seam plastic balls, seamless plastic balls, some balls meeting the revised specifications, some meeting the reinstated original specifications, and possibly even the same brand and make of ball meeting different specifications. However, the fact that the ITTF have actually brought in these specifications indicates that they're determined to give us a ball that will eventually at least play like a celluloid ball. So now it's time for some independent testing by Preston Table Tennis Association to see just how close these plastic balls play to the celluloid ones, and how would you react if I said you just play with a plastic ball? Ooh. And whether or not they actually do pass under our random sampling testing the revised T3 specifications. Or maybe we might even be surprised. Maybe they might even pass the original specifications. So without further ado, let's get on with that testing. Thank you for watching.